Speedway Report is produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for Racers Reunion Radio. Well, Indianapolis Bump Day returns and dramatic emotion came back with 500 qualifying. Mother Nature continues to dislike short track racing, and Race Weeks comes home to Charlotte, North Carolina. All this and more. Welcome to Speedway Report for Monday, May the 21st, 2018. We are live from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm Patrick Reynolds, and thank you for joining the fastest half hour in racing. And to all the racers out there, the die-hard, hardcore racers, Merry Christmas week to you. Big day coming up on Sunday, our Christmas day, so to speak. The biggest, to me, biggest racing day of the year. This is December 25th coming up this Sunday, as if I were 6 years old. That's how big Sunday is to real racers. Well, we're looking back at the weekend before the biggest weekend of the year. Let's hit up the victory lane lap and tell you who won what as we tee up Memorial Day weekend, but a lot of good racing happened. Even more tried to get in. We'll bring you up to speed. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Tour ran their all-star race in Charlotte, North Carolina on Saturday night. Kevin Harvick wins with $1 million richer with the victory that he took. On Friday night, the Truck Series ran 200 miles in Charlotte, and Johnny Sauter finally takes his first win ever at Charlotte Motor Speedway. NASCAR's K&N Pro Series West Tour was in San Bernardino, California. Ryan Partridge won the main event there. And in the Indianapolis 500 qualifying for the Indy cars, Ed Carpenter won the pole position. He will lead the field down the front stretch when the 500 takes the green flag Sunday afternoon. Rounding out the front row in the middle, Simon Pagenaud, and on the outside, Will Power. NHRA had a rain delay yesterday in Topeka, Kansas. The finals getting underway well after 6 p.m. Eastern time. Finished under the lights. We'll get you the results. In Top Fuel, Clay Milliken got back into the winner's circle for the first time this season. In Funny Car, Courtney Force won for her third time in 2018. And in Pro Stock, Derek Kramer captured his first national event win by beating Erica Enders. Now, here, when we hit into the dirt track and the results, we get into where Mother Nature simply is not a short track fan. In 2018, Lucas Oil Late Models began their weekend Friday in Maribel, Wisconsin. Earl Pearson Jr. won the A-Main, and on Saturday in Spring Valley, Minnesota, Jonathan Davenport took the checkered flag. And here's where the rain came across the board. Last night in Greenwood, Nebraska for the Lucas Oil Late Models was rained out. That was postponed until Thursday, July 19th. The World of Outlaw Late Models were scheduled to go in Waverly, Ohio. That was rained out, postponed until September. World of Outlaw Sprints had a very wet week. Last Wednesday in Abbottstown, Pennsylvania, rained out and canceled. Friday night, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, the famed Williams Grove Half Mile, rained out and canceled. Saturday night, rained out. However, not canceled. It was postponed. They will run that in July ahead of a weekend that was already scheduled. The ARCA machines barely got their show in yesterday in Toledo, Ohio. Rain was threatening all around the speedway. Zane Smith wound up winning the 200-lap feature. USAC Sprints, they were not blessed by Mother Nature either. Friday night, they wanted to race in Granite City, Illinois. That was rained out. Is postponed to August 31st. On Saturday in Peevely, Missouri at I-55 Speedway, Kenny Schrader's place, rained out and postponed to September 1st, so they were able to find an open weekend. Looked like Labor Day weekend for the sprint cars. We'll move them there. The third mile in Grandview, Pennsylvania with the small block mods, they were rained out totally, and you had to come back here to the sunny south where rain threatened the Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, but they did get the complete show in. Jason Myers and Jonathan Brown split the twin 25s for the NASCAR Modifieds. Rain threatened. It was dark skies because I went up there and watched the racing on Saturday night. Rain threatened the entire time, held the crowd down a little bit as well. You could see that. If you were going to come from a long distance, I could understand why. And actually, during the racing program, it did sprinkle. Not enough to bring on a caution flag, but a passing cloud did drop a little rain on us just briefly. We kept racing, no big deal. And on the way home from Winston-Salem, it poured like bejesus. I had the wipers on high. But I did the right thing. I'm happy I went. Was at a Saturday night short track supporting your local track, not home watching the race on television. I thought that was the right thing to do. It's Saturday night. It's getting close to summertime. My butt belongs at a racetrack on Saturday night. So that's where I wound up at the stadium. Braved the weather. Came out on top. It was a good one. I enjoyed the night up there. So with this, hang on. Pollen down here in the south is killing me. My allergies are bumming me. I try not to do this, but I'm going to take a drink of water on the air. Sorry about that. You know that drink with the glass, that'll be the freeze frame that social media decides to use when we upload this thing and promo it. So many stories as we head into Memorial Day weekend on the weekend before the biggest race of the year. A lot of stories to talk about. The biggest one for me got to be on how Bump Day shook out at the Indianapolis 500. Two very popular names, Pippa Mann and James Hinchcliffe, will not see the green flag in the Indianapolis 500. Two big names, two recognizable names. Let's take them a little bit because I want to talk about the drivers, the teams. You know, let's take the 1,000-foot view of this. Then we'll take the 100,000-foot view of this. There's a lot of layers to this I want to talk about. First of all, we'll talk about Pippa Mann, a fan favorite, very skilled race car driver, but realistically races Indy cars roughly once a year. Has had multiple rides over the years or run multiple races within a season. However, she repeatedly winds up putting a deal together to run only the Indianapolis 500. I know she would love to be out there weekly, run the entire circuit, but getting sponsorship is such a Herculean uphill task in motorsports. To see her at the Indy 500 every year is good, but she will not, did not find the speed, will not take place in this year's Indianapolis 500 as Bump Day returned. I would say that, let me back this up a little bit before we get into Hinch here a little bit and a little bit more about Pippa. Is Bump Day has always technically been there, but we've struggled, IndyCar has struggled to find the 33 cars and drivers to fill the field. Yes, they've gotten 33, but it has been work to get to 33. A lot of times we've had 31, 32 entries as we head into qualifying weekend, and it's been by the skin of their teeth that they pulled out 33 cars just to enter the race. You know, we used to have well over 100 cars enter the 500, and making the race was outstanding, was an amazing accomplishment. In several years, you know, past several years, you know, if you were able to put the funding together, you made the 500 because they were having trouble to get to 33 cars. This year we had 35 legitimate entries in the 500. And Bump Day returned. 2 were not going to make it. Racing purists were thrilled at this, including myself. I love the competitive angle of racing. Certainly put a little bit more sparkle and cachet on the Indy 500 field. However, here's the downside. The heartbreak of this is that Pippa will not be in it. Let's talk about James Hinchcliffe. He's a big name in IndyCar racing. He's arguably the face of IndyCar racing, certainly a threat to win the Indy 500, certainly a threat to win the overall IndyCar Series championship. Absolutely. He's got a national commercial running for Honda where he's the face of IndyCar, and a few years ago he was on Dancing with the Stars and watched by millions of people, 10, 20 million people. I have no idea what an IndyCar is, but it got great exposure for the IndyCar Series. In 2015, he had that horrific wreck at the track, battled with his life, never mind returning to a race car, but battled, you know, just to survive. And here he is a couple of years later. Now, what do you do? What does IndyCar do? in the figure out a way to get Hinch and Pippa in the 500 because their names, especially Hinch, or do you leave them out of the 500? What do you do? To me, it's a no-brainer. As much as it pains me emotionally to do it, and it's how much I love Hinch and love Pippa, you've got to maintain the integrity of the sport. It is a huge word to me, integrity. And they were not quick enough. They did not follow they followed the procedures, but they did not make the cut. Both of them, and it looks like it'll stay this way, for the integrity of IndyCar, stay out of the 500. You need to look at the big picture on this. Yes, I would love to see Hinch and Pippa both in the 500, but then you ask yourself, then who's out? How do you decide what to come out for these two to go in? Do you expand the field? No. All these scenarios of Hinch maybe swapping spots with another driver, Pippa coming up with something, to me are very NASCAR-ish. And that NASCAR style, that gimmicks, that procedure for messing with the integrity of the sport is part of what was the downfall of NASCAR. We talk about the problems, and you can argue about that sport all you want, but there's no question that the popularity of it is not what it once was. A lot of that, you can attribute it to many things. There's a long list. One of those things is that the integrity of NASCAR has been shot. A lot of it I attribute to the chase in the playoffs and the lack of a honest championship system. I think the playoff system sucks and doesn't give you an honest auto racing champion in any way, shape, or form. But I'm gonna, from my memory, this clicks back. I'm going to go back to, I want to interject something here. I was going to jump to a NASCAR example here for a second, but I want to point out an article that Robin Miller wrote the other day about, can you picture the Daytona 500 without the Busch brothers or Chase Elliott? You can't picture that because NASCAR would not let that happen. You're right, Robin, but that doesn't mean it's the way to go. I don't think IndyCar should be copying anything that NASCAR does. I'm going to go back in the Wayback Machine, to my memory, to the 1989 Daytona 500. In that day and age, could you imagine a Daytona 500 without Richard Petty? No, you cannot. I can't imagine a NASCAR race without Richard Petty. In 1989, the world came dangerously close to Petty not making the show. He made it on a provisional by the skin of his teeth, but barely made it in. People chalked it up to somewhat of an anomaly. Well, the following week in Richmond, Virginia, boom, Richard Petty did not qualify for the Richmond race. That sent him on a downward spiral as he did not qualify for several early races in NASCAR, in the Winston Cup Series. That is when the sanctioning body put in the past champions provisional, is to ensure Petty was in the field in the later stages of his career, and finally into his retirement, he would be guaranteed a spot in the field each week. Darrell Waltrip also wound up using this system ad nauseum to the almost embarrassment of both Petty and Waltrip in the later stages of their career. And you won't find a bigger Richard Petty fan than me. Love the man. I was a Petty guy. He was my guy. But the end of his career was really sad watching him in the back of the pack. But at least he was in the race. And he was in the race because of this champions provisional. It felt watered down. It felt charity. It didn't feel like this was professional sports. And this is what the best of the best do. Now, NASCAR has always had a system. They expanded their provisionals from this over the year. We went from 2 provisionals each race, when I started watching it in the early 80s to in the 90s, we went to like 6 provisionals, or 8, I guess it was 6 provisionals plus a champions provisional, for a total of 7 spots that were reserved for teams following the tour every year. This evolved into 2004 or 5, whatever it was, where we brought in the top 35 rule, and now we have this charter system. I beg IndyCar, don't look for NASCAR to lead you down this dark road in this direction. You are going to have days where the Pippa Manns and James Hinchcliffes of the world don't qualify for a race. It is at the 1,000-foot view, it is horrible not to have Hinch and Pippa in the race on Sunday. From the 100,000-foot view, you retain the integrity of the sport. When I grew up on stock cars, raised on NASCAR, didn't follow Indy cars week to week. That was always very clearly a secondary division. In the last 10 or 15 years, IndyCar has grabbed my attention so much more so as NASCAR has lost it. And when I would get back and forth to debating, to arguing with other race fans about what was better, what did I like it, it's something I could always go to. A well I could always go to for defense was, hey, at least in IndyCar, the fastest drivers simply make the race. I could always go back to that. They never had provisionals or past champions or this guaranteed or point system rule. They didn't have it, didn't need it, didn't want it. We timed, we had qualifying, we lined them up, we raced. There was always some integrity in that. Now here we are. 33 cars start the Indy 500. That's how it is. 11 rows of 3. Don't expand the field. I don't want Hinchcliffe to buy his way in or Pippa Mann to come up with a check for somebody. Not that there's a lot of options out there for this to happen anyway. I really don't think there are. But for IndyCar to maintain its integrity, you have to just let qualifying go with what it is. I've talked about this with the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Championship for over a decade. Integrity. Let the championship be decided by just who has the most points, not this goofy playoff system. Conversely with IndyCar, if you start messing with who is in and out of the 500 because of who you want to be there, you screw with the integrity of the sport. NASCAR has crumbled. It is crumbling. IndyCar, please do not go down that road. Yes, I know Hinch is a huge name and a huge draw. His sponsor has people coming to the Speedway this coming weekend to view the race. He is an entertaining guy. He's a fantastic personality, great guy, good race car driver too, represents North America, a proud Canadian. He's got everything going for him. But you wanted Bump Day back. I want Bump Day back. Part of Bump Day is emotion. It's all about emotion. The elation for people that made the race. The heartbreak for those that missed it. I watched that for decades when I was a kid. The 70s, the 80s, Bump Day. Some big names over the years did not make the Indianapolis 500. Bobby Rahal did not qualify one year. There was a streak where Al Unser Jr. and Emerson Fittipaldi won 3 years in a row. Went Junior, Fittipaldi, Jr., and then on that fourth year, neither driver made the 500. Don't change the rules. Don't buy a ride. Don't shift stuff around. This reeks of NASCAR, and we see the road that NASCAR has gone down. IndyCar, just leave it how it is. I hate seeing Hinch not in the race on Sunday, but geez, let it play out. This is sports. This is May, this is the Indy 500. That's what makes it special, is that things like this can happen, is that we just start the fastest 33. We have a procedure. It's enforced equally amongst everybody. Hinch didn't make it. I'm gutted for him. A great talent, great representative of the sport, but we need to maintain the integrity of IndyCar racing, and especially at all costs, the Indy 500. This is a good thing that we had the fastest 33 and we had a bump day. Want to know how competitive IndyCar is? The difference between making or missing the Indy 500, 102 ten-thousandths of a second, 0.0102 of a second. That is the difference between 33rd qualifier James Davison and James Hinchcliffe, and that was over a 10-mile difference. 4 laps around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 102 ten-thousandths of a second. Goodness gracious. This is May. Hashtag this is May. The only thing we may want to tweak in the coming years is the top 9 versus in the field bumping. On Saturday, there were drivers trying to bump their way into the top 9 at the same time people were bumping their way in and out of the back of the field. Maybe we'll want to adjust that for next year. Maybe have a top 9 maybe we decide the top 9 on Saturday, and then on Sunday is an actual bump day and then pole day, but maybe you don't want to take away from the pole position. I don't know. Maybe we just want to split that up a little bit, something like that. I don't know exactly, but it seemed like making the top 5 could have been a story of its own, but with Hinch and Pippa Mann not making it, that kind of overshadowed anything else for 500 qualifying. NASCAR had a good rules package in place for the All-Star race with the aero package and the restrictor plates. I'll admit I was a big doubter when they put plates on the cars as to what that's going to look like. We all remember Loudon in 2000, 0 lead changes. This worked out a whole heck of a lot better. Much better rule package, better racing. No, let's not knee-jerk and put this package on the cars for the rest of the year. Need a pollen clear out again. Welcome to Charlotte, North Carolina. But a lot of people not involved with race teams don't know what it takes to prepare cars weeks and weeks ahead of time that they're specifically built for. These were a one-off non-point race that teams had plenty of notice for, so you could do that. So it's not that easy to just slap this package on the cars for the 600. I'd like to see them run this package at another downforce race as soon as realistically possible. Maybe Michigan, maybe Kentucky, something coming up. Let's try it again and see what it is. This Wednesday, NASCAR is having meetings with data that they collected from the All-Star race Saturday night. I thought the racing was a lot better than we've seen in a lot of years. It's a great place to start. I think it's a great first step. But we can't just slap this together and make it happen that simple. You got to tech the cars, and they're not used to teching these things week to week. And goodness, have we had enough tech issues this year in Cup racing? Yes, plenty. But this Sunday, like we mentioned at the top of the show, is Racer Christmas. If you are on the couch potato all day, early morning, Monte Carlo, the Monaco Grand Prix, the Indianapolis 500 will take up your afternoon, and Sunday evening, the Coca-Cola 600 from right here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Now, my plans, I will be heading to Indianapolis Wednesday morning. So I will be up there. I will be leaving Charlotte. I'll be at the Brickyard over the weekend. So please check into speedwayreport.com. I'll be filing some stories and everybody I talk to up there and giving you a picture of what's happening up there at the Brickyard. We will not be on the air 1 week from today. That is Monday, the Memorial Day holiday. I will be traveling back to Charlotte from the Indianapolis area. So 1 week from tonight, we will not have a live broadcast. But in between our broadcasts, like I said, head to speedwayreport.com. This particular show and all our past ones are uploaded on the site. So if you're missing one or want to check something out, please have a look. A lot of articles to read. I'm going to write some more this weekend with the Indy 500 coverage, as I will be on site at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Please head to speedwayreport.com. Now, our uploaded programs from the past, including this one, are on Facebook at Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds. They're on the Racers Reunion Facebook page. On Twitter, they're at both Speedway Pat and Speedway Report. On racersreunion.com, they're in the forum. And as we said, on speedwayreport.com. And then my personal pages, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, I'm all there, as well as our brand new YouTube channel. I'll be uploading the Speedway Report stuff to there. Big thanks to everyone on our Facebook Live feed for joining the conversation during the show tonight. I'll be getting back to you guys in a little bit. As always, I recommend go see a race at a track near you. The grassroots ovals, drag strips, and road courses are the backbone and foundation of the auto racing world. Even to prove my point, the night before the Indy 500, I will be at Anderson, Indiana for the Little 500. Yes, 500 laps for pavement sprint cars on a quarter-mile track. You're darn right I'm going. I'll see you there. And I want to thank all of the military past and present for the freedoms we enjoy as Americans in our daily life, including the simple things like bench racing right here on a Monday night. Freedom is not free, and a veteran paid that bill for us. To all of the men and women who are defending freedom and watching Speedway Report as we are on the verge of Memorial Day, take care of yourselves and come home soon. A special salute to the teachers, school staff, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics in our own communities. They are quiet and modest heroes every single day. God bless and thank you. You have been watching Speedway Report from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. Please like our Facebook page, Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, and follow me on Twitter at SpeedwayPat. On the Drag Racing List Facebook page next is Racing and Rockin' with Draglist.com. BP, JB, and BS. They will have your NHRA news and some cool music too. As I said, we will not have a live broadcast next Monday and Memorial Day, as I will be traveling back from Indianapolis to here in Charlotte. Keep an eye on SpeedwayReport.com this weekend for my stories from the Indy 500. We will be back live here in 2 weeks, Monday, June the 4th, with NASCAR mods from Seekonk, Massachusetts, Indy cars and IMSA from Detroit, NHRA from Route 66 Raceway, short tracks, and gosh, a whole lot more. Enjoy Christmas this Sunday with the Monaco Grand Prix, Indy 500, and Coca-Cola 600. Thank you all for joining us. Have a happy Memorial Day, and don't forget about the true reason for the holiday. I will see you all next time.